really appreciate all of you for watching these videos. Thank you for being subscribed. If you're not yet subscribed, please consider subscribing and also pressing the bell notification button so that you don't miss another important video. Guys, this is the live stream where we talk about the most current events. I know a lot of people don't like it when I'm on the road and then I'm filming. This is like one of the only ways that I can manage my time effectively is by excuse me, by turning on my cell phone camera and recording. Give me a second, guys. I'm coming down with another cold, that cough, sniffle, or sneeze. I apologize in advance. Once again, I like to do the live streams because we address the most current events. I see some good men here. Mike from the Professional Security Journal's here. Doug is here, and FCJ9 is here. Welcome, men, to the live stream. So one of my subscribers, I just woke up a couple hours ago, and I was checking my cell phone, and I got a text message regarding Erica Kirk filing a lawsuit against the security company hired to protect her husband. Okay, I don't know if this is an official lawsuit. I don't know if this is fake information, fake news. I have no idea what the legitimacy of this is. I don't know. I haven't seen the paperwork. I just seen a video that Erica said she's going to file a lawsuit against the security company. Now, it could be an AI generated video. I don't know if this is an authentic lawsuit or not. What I will say is we covered this, guys. We covered this 5 days ago. And I thought, you know what? I don't like to say I told you so, but I talked about it. And this is the beauty of this channel. I'm not saying we're able to predict the future, but we're able to get facts, process it, and apply it to our experiences. And we can more or less foresee with decent predictable results on what happens or what's going to happen. And it looks like that's the case here. Is there's a lawsuit going to be filed, and I mentioned this. In that video I even mentioned that this wasn't even talked about in anybody's videos. So what this goes down to is, what is the standards of the private security industry? What's the EP, executive protection standards? What are professionals obligated to do? And I really, really recommend that you guys watch my interview I did with Fred Pyrie from Active Crisis Consulting. It was a lengthy video. It was an hour and 15 minutes, but I think it's worth watching, especially if you want to get into executive protection, if you want to start a security company, if you want to know what the standards are for a protective detail, watch that video to its entirety. It's a lengthy video. Check out my description box below and just watch different parts. If you got a 20-minute commute, turn it on 20 minutes for one way, and then when you drive back home, that's another 20 minutes. So you already have 40 minutes covered. And then you're on your way to work again, or wherever you're going the next day, turn it on again. That's another 20 minutes. And then on your way back, that's another 20 minutes. So you covered an hour and 15 or an hour and 20 minutes already. So yeah, it'll take you 2 days, but there's so much valuable information. Now, this channel doesn't have the same outreach as like the media channels, the news outlets, because it's a boutique channel. And it's so specific and it's so boutique that our audience is a little bit smaller than the news outlets. But this is something I really want you guys to watch the video. I spent a decent amount of time prepping for it, asking questions, and then I even allowed you guys to ask questions to Fred, aka Razor, a former DSS agent, diplomatic security service agent. He's been deployed over 120 countries, and he runs a successful boutique security firm that's tasked with protecting some pretty relevant people out there. And some of the clients, I know that there's been some questions about or some pressing questions about how come you only hire tier 1 military units. Well, it depends on the client. And now a lot of these clients in EP, they're the billionaire or the multi-billionaire that you never heard of. That's the case with most of these clients. And these clients watch a lot of movies, and they think that the only ones capable of protecting them are Navy SEALs. So what do they demand from the client? What do they demand from the security company? A Navy SEAL. Can anybody do these protective details with the proper training, the proper experience, the proper mentorship? Oh, absolutely. But again, the client watches movies, and they want the Navy SEAL. So they obviously come at a premium cost. It's kind of like I'm offering the product, right? Or we're offering product. You can't expect to pay the minimum wage and protect these billionaires. It's not going to happen. So you want to pay them a competitive wage. So they charge a lot. And in the video, I talk about in that video in the description box below where I interview Fred, aka Razor, we talk about how much it most likely cost for Charlie Kirk's protective detail. We don't have the numbers yet, but we did some estimation on that video. So watch it, guys. Watch the video. Check out the description box below. Now, that company also services other types of clients. And again, let's just say you have a multi-millionaire client. Maybe that person has $100 million somewhere, right? And there's constant cash flow coming in every month. Maybe they watched Black Hawk Down and then Googled Delta Force, which isn't Delta Force anymore. It's CAG, the Combat Application Group. I believe it's so. So now they're calling these boutique security companies and asking only for Delta Force operators or retired ones. So it's a client, it's a client that drives this. And then again, you might have another client that watched a bunch of that watch the movie SWAT, and then they only want LAPD, like SWAT operators, to protect them. Or then you have the client that has, makes about $1 million a year, doesn't have much money, watch the movies, and only wants former cops. So it depends on the client. Okay? Watch the video I made, guys. Check out the description box below. Going back to lawsuits. Okay. So, allegedly, Charlie Kirk's wife, again, not confirmed, but she may be filing a lawsuit. I saw her in a video that says we're filing a lawsuit. What are the standards of security? We talked about it. For EP work, we talked about it in the video. Now, listen carefully here. If you are in security, I need you guys to start documenting things. If you know that there's a vulnerability, you should be telling upper management about it. So if you are highly concerned about the roofs being very accessible, or positions of elevation being very accessible to a potential assailant, a potential attacker, you need to tell the chain. You need to go up the chain of command and notify somebody. Hey, you know what? I'm over here in this area, and this area is not secure. Is there any way that we can secure it? Don't do it over a phone call. I mean, if you have to, right? Depending on your SOPs. Send text messages, send emails. And if you are upper management, you need to be notifying the client. Hey, you know what? You paid for 16 security protective detail agents, or 16 agents. We're gonna need 30 of them. We have some vulnerabilities that we're concerned about, and we don't have adequate coverage. That needs to be in a written document, you guys. It needs to be sent to the client. And if the client doesn't respond, you're gonna have to call them. Hey, is there any way that you can respond, just so that just so that we understand that you acknowledge that there is a problem here, and it needs to be addressed. Find some way, find some creative way where this client can acknowledge the vulnerability in a written format. Even a simple text message of thanks or like a thumbs up emoji or something like that. I mean, you can argue in court that the client was aware of the vulnerability, yet they continued to not fund the assignment or something like that. Okay. You can also mention to the client, hey, we highly recommend counter snipers. However, the laws of, where was he at? Utah. The laws of Utah do not allow security guards to have a rifle, to have a precision rifle. So, in that circumstance, the client would say, "Well, what can you do?" Well, I can contact law enforcement. So, if you are the law enforcement liaison or the operation manager, guys, you're gonna need to have a meeting. Somehow you're gonna need to have a witness and try to formally document this meeting with law enforcement and request counter snipers. Okay, it needs to be done. And a lot of you guys are saying, well, first off, the agency where our security company provides service, they don't have snipers. They don't have counter snipers. They don't even have a SWAT team. They don't have these capabilities. Well, that's fine. So then what do you do next? Excuse me, guys. If you don't have these capabilities, then you notify the client in writing. Hey, get a hold of somebody who is in charge of, a lot of times you have like a campaign manager or a manager that's assigned to like Charlie Kirk, or maybe if you have direct connect to him, and let him know, hey, you know what? This is a concern. This is a vulnerability. We cannot mitigate that vulnerability in such a way that we recommend. We contacted ABC Police Department. They don't have counter snipers. They don't have anybody that they could assign to the detail. They mentioned it's a funding issue. It's an overtime issue. They don't have it in their budget to cover this. We highly recommend that you move the stage to this portion, this other part of the campus, and we'll remove, or we can mitigate that vulnerability this way. Well, you know what? And this is the manager, talking to you. You know what? That's the best spot where we can communicate with the audience. I understand your concern, but we're not moving. Okay, great. So what happens in a year or 2 years from now when the lawsuit becomes a thing? That's what you're going to have to bring for your defense. And guys, if you're watching this channel, you're watching these videos and you're saying, well, I'm not going to be in the lawsuit because it's the security company's vulnerability. Well, no, you're wrong. I talked to you guys about this 5 days ago in another live stream. You will be named individually in a lawsuit. They have to do that. You will be named as an individual. If your name is John Smith or Sean Sundell, you're going to be named individually in the lawsuit, and it's up to you to get your name removed. So what you're going to have to argue is my actions or the alleged inactions, right, was part of the scope of my employment. In California, the employer is responsible for defending you as long as you're within the scope of employment. So you're going to have to, that's the argument you're going to make. How about we get rid of that argument, okay, and we bring up the text messages, the emails, the written correspondence to your manager, right, your supervisor of your concerns. And if you are a manager, I know what the game is, right? Basically, somebody sends an email to you. Maybe they're being sexually harassed, or they have a suggestion, or there's a vulnerability, and you don't acknowledge on purpose because you don't want to be showing up in court later on, or you don't want to have to show up in court later on. You are an absolute if you do that. You're not a leader if you do that. And guys, again, there's other ways. And guys, look, if you're working with a manager that doesn't acknowledge these vulnerabilities, I think it's time to move on with another security company that really cares about you, because that's a trick in the, I guess, the leadership game or the supervision game. It's a trick to not acknowledge concerns from your subordinates, because, and the argument is, well, I didn't know that there's a vulnerability. Again, that's a coward way of leading an organization. Guys, please leave these organizations. Even if they're paying you good, leave them. And look at other things. They're not acknowledging these written correspondence, then forget it. And I've worked for organizations that are very cowardly and that will not acknowledge things that can involve knowledge of an issue, because they don't want to be dragged, and they don't want to be the one held responsible later on. You got to leave these organizations, guys. If you're just chiming in, we have a substantial audience today. Check out the video I made with Fred Pyrie of Active Crisis Consulting. He's a former supervisory agent with the Diplomatic Security Services, and he runs a boutique executive protection agency. If you want to have training on active shooter response, I've teamed up with Citywide Protection Services, CWPS Post, for post-certified training on active shooter response. It's a 16-hour class. We have a class next week. I think it's 26th and 27th of September. It's a Thursday and Friday. It's in Eastern San Diego County. Get a hold of me if you're interested. We allow credentialed private security access to that training. Excuse me, guys. You got to have a firearm permit. Send me email. Check out my website. If you want to know what my email is, just go to crimebullet.com, crimebullet.com, and look for my email there. Or go to the video in which I connect you with Fred Pyrie's video. And a bunch of my contacts are in there too. Okay. Now, I don't know I don't know much what to say about this video about Erica Kirk wanting to file a lawsuit. I don't know if they have any more information. I don't know what the name of the security company that provides protective service. I don't know. I'm not faulting them, guys, at all. I am not faulting at all those who contacted Charlie Kirk management and told them that they have some concerns. And there's ways of mitigating the concerns. In the Fred Pyrie video, we talked about drones. Can you not fly a drone on campus? Licensing involved. Do you have a 107 permit or 107 license? I don't know. But we talked about ways on mitigating threats. And I know it sounds repetitive. That's just because more people are chiming in right now. The courts are going to want to know what the current industry standards are. And you're going to get somebody like Fred Pyrie that is going to testify. He's not going to testify in court, right? I mean, he could. He's qualified. But you're going to get an expert to testify on what the standards are. And they're going to discuss drones. They're going to discuss that there has to be access control on elevated positions to reduce the likelihood of a precision rifle attack. Somebody behind a precision rifle attacking the principal. You have to have sufficient staffing levels. That's going to be mentioned. As we mentioned, also, it's a standard to notify the client on what the vulnerability is and what the suggestion is on how to mitigate that. These are all things that are going to be brought up. Again, we talked about it in a video 5 days ago before we even learned about a lawsuit. All right, guys, I'm looking forward to the comments and dialogue. Please comment in the regular description box below. Comment box. And then if you go to the Fred Pyrie video, again, it's in the description box. Please comment on there. Hey, good video. This is what we'd like to see. Comment, because we're losing a lot of traction in the algorithm, and I really need a lot of people to watch that video. It's so important. We cover a lot of things that the media hasn't covered. Just put some random comment on there. Hey, good video. I like the fact that you discussed that budget is a significant factor in providing adequate security. Or, hey, I like the fact that you mentioned how much a protective detail would cost. Or, hey, I like the fact that you mentioned drones. Just some comment. But I think that there's only like one comment or no comments on that video. And again, I really needed to go up the algorithm. Okay, guys, that's all I got. Mike from the Professional Security Journal, thank you so much for moderating these videos. I really, really, really appreciate it. All right, guys, I'm out. Take care.